A day that we have feared, potentially, a day that maybe we have looked forward to for the last few years. Conference realignment, the big boogeyman in college athletics, is now official as of today, July 1st, 2024. Oklahoma and Texas, now members of the Southeastern Conference. In their wake in the Big 12, we officially welcome Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. The new West Coast newcomers to the Big 10 do not officially join the conference until August 2nd, 2024, but it is still conference realignment in a big way. And the Atlantic Coast Conference, no longer just the Atlantic Coast. How about the Pacific Coast in Northern California? Cal and Stanford, now officially member institutions of the ACC, along with the heart of Texas and Dallas, that being SMU. And the Pac-12 is no longer. The Pac-2 still exists, the left-behind programs of Oregon State and Washington State. DRS, a day that we have talked about for many years after Oklahoma and Texas made the move back in the summer of 2021 to announce their departure from the Big 12 to join the SEC. That was followed by UCLA and USC. Last summer, everything with the dissolution of the Pac-12. Oregon and Washington joining the teams from LA in the Big 10, and the four corner schools making their way to the Big 12. A day that we have looked at for a very long time is now official. College sports, as we know it, forever altered on July 1st, 2024.
And there are some pros, but way more cons that are coming away from this. The pros are the Pac-12 is gone. Hooray, celebration, hallelujah, the worst conference in the history of sports here has gone away. We love that. But having said that, we love to have, the East Coast, West Coast bias, the North versus the South, and we're losing that. And it is a shame at that point because there were regional rivalries that you love to see. And I can't stand the one thing that has to go away next is the Rose Bowl, but that's maybe for another show at this point. But there was something about the Big Ten matching up against the Pac-12 in the Rose Bowl, even if it cost those two teams a national championship because the rest of the bowl season went along. That is what it is. But that was still tradition. It gets harder and harder, Ben, for years and years and years. You could just name a team and know exactly what their conference is going to be in and who they actually played. Now you take a look at the Big Ten, which I think is hilarious at this point. Like, honestly, God, why is it the Big Ten with 18 teams in it? Why is it the Big 18? The Big 12? Why is it the Big 16? Like, isn't it just common sense at this point? Like, I have no idea why that still happens here. So I'm getting hung up on things that aren't even on the field at this point, which make no sense. Right. Now, granted, pretty soon the Big Ten will probably have 36 teams. And then it'll go away as just the Big Ten is only one conference and includes every team in college football. We're heading down that path. You have to get used to it. Football, though, by the way, this could have been disastrous. Let's just say if we were still in a four-man playoff or the BCS era, I would be screaming from the top of the hills here. But I got to tell you guys this one thing. College football season next year is going to be absolutely phenomenal. All the talk, the conjecture of all these added playoff teams with more meaningful football, it's going to be so much fun to watch. So even though I say to myself right now, I can't stand alignment and change everything up. Get rid of every conference. You just give me an expanded playoff. It's a win-win for the people out there, Ben, including myself.
I never thought in the history of doing the early line that I would ever agree with my co-host Donnie Rightside on a point that he brings up about any change or altered landscape in college sports. And yet here we are. See, folks, you can adapt. You can make evolutions. You can learn that change brings a positive benefit as well because it is new and it will take an adjustment period. And oftentimes change can be a little bit scary. But Donnie is correct. Sure, we miss some of the pageantry and the tradition that we associate with our favorite college conference or what we have known for decades in collegiate athletics. But with change comes benefit as well, and that is the expanded college football playoff to 12 teams starting in 2024. There are many sweeping changes that over these summer months we will break down for you here on the early line to get you ready for the college football campaign that starts on August 24th in 2024. Conference realignment being one of the big ones. Of course, the expanded field of 12 schools now reaching the college football playoff. And DRS, the reason they keep these names in the conferences at the moment, although we got the reports of the All-State Big 12 or whatever that's going to look like in probably just a year or so, as you always look for that bottom line to increase, and college football being the main driving economic engine, that's why you have the changes that we do. But you've heard of branding. It's why when the morning after, myself and you on the early line came together to form a new morning show, they're like, well, DRS is bringing in the big bucks. Let's keep it TEL. Yeah. Let's stay with the early line.
True. No, it makes a lot of sense at that point. Also, we're at a point in college football madness where it is about the almighty dollar. So I don't mind. Like, as soon as we, I don't want to see, like, the Michigan Wolverines, helmet go away for a Visa sign. Like, we don't want to see that on the helmet. But we have to understand the time and change. You have to give and take some. Like, for me, college kids shouldn't be paid. It should be on the sanctity of the sport here. Just forget about all that. We are in a much better place in college football, even though you have the transfer portal. Again, it's a give or take on both sides here. If you just give us more meaningful football at the end of the season, and I say this out to the people who, I don't know where they came to this agreement on, where it's like, well, now that you have an expanded college football playoff, it's going to be watered down and the regular season doesn't matter. Are you kidding me? It used to be back. Were you having any fun, like me being a Miami Hurricane fan, losing opening day to Florida State? Like, season's over at this point. You play, like, imagine if we did that in the NFL. Like, if the Chiefs get upset on opening night, can't win the Super Bowl. Are you nuts, man? Put more fan bases in more big games late in the season with chances to get to the playoffs. Who is going to hate on that? Only the idiot would hate on that, Ben.
I think it's a poor argument, because if your argument was it legitimizes the regular season because of how important each and every game was, the end of the 4-team era last year, the 10th and final year, just got rid of that completely, because Florida State won every single game in the regular season and its conference championship game, and it ended up meaning nothing, where the regular season has its drawbacks as well. To Donnie's point, the games that we love in non-conference play that are often seen as college football playoff games in years past now still have that legitimacy and relevancy, excuse my misspeak there, and they still present an opportunity that if you lose, your season is not done, and you can build up once again to keep going the entirety of the year. It's a beautiful time in college football, albeit a new one.